Alright everyone, it's Voodoo51292, and this is my next episode of Voodoo's Thoughts. And what I'm going to be doing in this episode is recapping the E3 Expo that was held last week in LA. Obviously the giant video game conference every year that they have in June. And basically I'll be touching on all three press conferences and kind of tell you what happened and kind of what I think about all of the stuff that happened at E3. So this is going to be a long one, so I hope you're settled in and ready for the ride. And we're going to go in order with the press conferences. So the first press conference that was done was Microsoft's, and they started their press conference in a really weird way. It was kind of strange, and it was just weird watching it. What they did was, they started the press conference with two games, alright? Neither one of them being Xbox exclusives, or really having anything at all to do with Microsoft. The first game that they started with was Modern Warfare 3, and they had some guy standing out on stage with a controller, and the Modern Warfare 3, I guess, gameplay demo going. It was pretty funny because it was like this really, epic introduction, and about 1 minute, or so into the demo, his controller disconnects, and it comes up on the screen, controller disconnected, please reconnect your controller. So that was pretty funny. They had this great big epic intro, and it was completely ruined by that. But anyway, they had literally like an 8-minute or so gameplay demo for Modern Warfare 3, and it was like, okay, but this has nothing to do with Microsoft. I mean, it's not an exclusive title, it's nothing like that. It was more like an advertisement for the game. And so anyway, after that was over, they had the guy who was playing was some guy from Infinity Ward, and then they had the guy come out from Sledgehammer Games, and those two studios worked on the game, and he comes out and basically says, oh, this is going to be the best Call of Duty ever, blah blah blah, and they walk off stage, having absolutely nothing at all to do with Microsoft. The only thing that they, that the 360 has in association with Call of Duty is that they get their DLC earlier, but other than that, what does Modern Warfare 3 have to do with Microsoft? Anyway, so we were like, okay, that's kind of strange. The next thing that they do is show the game Tomb Raider, and again, has nothing to do with Microsoft. And in Tomb Raider, I mean, such a random title to be doing at your press conference at E3. So they come out and they have another pretty lengthy gameplay demo of Tomb Raider, and then the guy's like, okay, this is going to be the best Tomb Raider ever, and then they walk off stage, and it's like, we're sitting there, it's already been like, 15-20 minutes into Microsoft's press conference, and nothing that they showed has anything to do with all of Microsoft. So, very weird start to their press conference. But what I have pulled up on my laptop down here is actually shacknews.com, which is where I get all of my gaming news. And they have like a bullet list of each company's press conference. It's like a roundup of what happened. They don't have everything on this list, but they have most of it. Stuff that's not on this list that I remember, I will talk about, but they don't have it in order. It's not in order of how the press conference went. But let's talk about the bullet points that Microsoft pushed in the press conference. The first thing they had listed here, the guy from EA Sports came out, and he's like, oh, by the way, 4 EA Sports titles are going to feature Kinect. And they had, I believe, Madden, it was Tiger Woods Golf, Madden, FIFA, and another game that he didn't announce. And that was it. That's all that was. And there was no talk or explanation of how Kinect was supposed to work with these games. I mean, how are you going to run around in FIFA like this, and you're going to be doing bicycle kicks and stuff? Like, like freaking, it's like, what, how are you supposed to play FIFA with Kinect? You're going to run around your living room and kicking the ball and, slide tackling on your floor and stuff. It's very strange. And how are you supposed to move your character with the Kinect? Like, how are you supposed to pick a direction? And they didn't explain how any of this was going to work. They were just like, oh yeah, it's coming to EA Sports. Then this was pretty funny. And this was a trend I noticed throughout Microsoft's press conference, okay, which really disappointed me. Because Microsoft, instead of focusing on, like, the software, like the new games and stuff, like the big titles and things that were coming out, all they did was focus on how they were going to use Kinect with the titles. Like, they didn't actually push, like, oh, you know, this is going to be a great game. We've got all this great stuff in the game, blah, 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 the game. No, it was just like, here's this new game coming out that we expect to sell millions and millions and millions of copies, but what we're basically going to showcase is how Kinect is going to work with it, which I thought was really stupid. And this next point is exactly that. Mass Effect 3, they came out and they start showing Mass Effect 3, and instead of, like, you know, talking about Mass Effect 3, talking about how, you know, it's the the epic, you know, third game where everything's supposed to hit the fan. No, what they did was they were like, yes, this is Mass Effect 3, but what we want to show you is how Kinect is going to work with it. And the only thing that it does is voice recognition. So basically, they demoed and they had Shepard, you know, there's dialogue branches and things because it's Mass Effect, and you would go up and talk to somebody, and the two, you know, speech options or whatever will come up, and what you do is you say what you want to say into the Kinect, and it reads it. And it's like, wow, you know, that's great. I get to sit here and speak to my television all day. The other thing it did, which was kind of neat, was there was voice recognition where you could control your partners and things in combat. So they had a demo where they went in combat and the guy was like, you know, you move up, you deploy sonic beams or something, and it happened. That was pretty neat, but here's the bottom line, okay? For that to work, in my, you know, what I'm thinking, it's going to have to be completely silent in that room, except for the person saying it, and they're going to have to say it so clearly that, you know, the Kinect understands what you're saying. If there's any other kind of noise or anything going on in the room, I have a feeling that might mess with it. And, you know, to be honest, I wanted to see Mass Effect 3. You know, I wanted them to talk about the game, the software Mass Effect 3, but instead, they just talked about how Kinect was going to work with Mass Effect 3, which really, it's not going to work like miracles with Mass Effect 3. It's voice recognition, and, you know, it's a neat gadget, I guess, but I wanted to see the game. But anyway, this was a common theme in this press conference, which you'll see. Alright, yeah, then the new Tomb Raider, they announced stuff like YouTube and Bing are coming to Xbox Live, and this is something that I really want to talk about, okay, because this took up literally like 10 to 15 minutes of the freaking press conference demoing this. Basically, with this YouTube and Bing, they had a catchphrase. It's like, you say it, Xbox will find it. And what was pretty hilarious was that they were all talking about, we need to remove the technology, you know, to have you have a more seamless experience. And what the demo basically was they had this, you know, chick on stage doing it, and they had, you know, a little movie of this couple. All it was, again, voice recognition on the Xbox. They would say something like, you know, Xbox Bing, and then they would say a word and it would search it, you know, or they would say Xbox Home and it would go home. And this literally took like 15 minutes to demo this. And my question is, you know, why is that necessary? Like, how lazy are human beings becoming that we need to demo for 15 minutes on stage during my press conference how you can just sit on your couch and go, Xbox, play, and it does it, instead of, okay, how hard is it to take a controller, which, mind you, is now wireless, okay? Yes, in the Stone Ages, these had wires. Now they are wireless. How hard is it to take this and go click, 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 and be there? No, we can't do that. No, you have to buy a $150 Kinect to sit on your couch and go, Xbox, Bing, you know, X-Men, and it finds it. When I can use this, which is $50, to simply scroll and click a button. You know, why? How lazy are Americans, or people in general, not just Americans, because, you know, this is internationally. How lazy are human beings that we just can't settle for a wireless controller anymore? We need to remove the technology. Remove this, remove that. So that means I take this and put it there. That is your big campaign. I take your controller and I just lay it on the side. That's removing the technology, removing barriers. It's freaking voice recognition, and it's just people being ridiculously lazy is all that is. And it really kind of pissed me off that they were using so much time in their press conference to demo voice recognition for this when I can use this freaking thing, a wireless controller, to simply scroll to what I want. You know, and I don't have to sit there and talk to my TV all day and look like a moron. So that was really annoying when they were showing like YouTube and Bing and all this other stuff and all this stupid, oh, remove the technology. That's how you're going to have a more seamless experience. Dude, just use the controller. It's not, you know. But no, we're so lazy that we can't use controllers anymore. We just have to speak into it. So that was annoying. Alright? Then one of the only things I was actually impressed with this press conference was Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon. Future Soldier Ghost Recon, whatever. Where they demoed it with the Kinect, okay? And this, what they showed in this game is my idea of what people want out of the Kinect, okay? Basically, they demoed it, and this was really cool. They had the game on, and a guy came out there with Kinect, and the first thing they did was show like the extreme weapon customization, alright? And the guy would stand in front of the Kinect and do like this, and the gun would split apart into all its parts, and you could, you know, scroll through the parts like this and drag new parts in, or you could use voice recognition. The guy stood there and he said gas chamber, and the gas chamber popped up, and he was like next, next, you know, select, finish, and he would do like that, and the gun would put itself back together. That was really neat. What was more impressive was that there was gameplay, okay? And what was actually also really cool is he would say something like, optimize for range, and the gun would optimize itself as a sniper rifle, which was freaking sweet. Or he would say something like, optimize for rapid, optimize for, rapid fire, and it would, it would customize itself. That was really awesome. And then they actually did a gameplay demo of the guns, and he would stand there, reach in his back like that, and do like this or something, or like a fist like that, and he would pull out his gun, and you could aim the gun like this and do like this, and the gun would fire. And then you did, I forgot what it was, like throw this like away like that, and the guy would reload. That is, in my mind, what people expect out of Kinect. People, if you're going to use the Kinect, that's the kind of thing that I think people want, is gameplay that's fully integrated with the Kinect, that you can use yourself literally as the controller, point, shoot like this, reload fast like that, move around, and be part of the action. That's what people want out of the Kinect, I think. And it was a really cool demo. I was very impressed by Ghost Recon, what they were able to do with the Kinect. There's no question, absolutely no question, that the Kinect is an amazing piece of technology. There's no question about that. It truly is. What the Kinect can do, how it can read your body movements and do so much more, recognize your voice, it's an amazing piece of technology. Problem is they're really not finding great ways to implement it that people want. But Ghost Recon, I thought, was very impressive, alright? Then they announced that there's going to be live streaming TV through Xbox, which was all part of their, voice-activated thing off the couch. They did actually demo Gears of War 3 and actually showed the game, because it apparently is not, I don't believe that game is Kinect enabled, and they actually invited Ice-T to come on stage, and they did like a co-op gameplay demo, and the game looks pretty sweet. That's what I wanted, was the software. And it was pretty funny because Ice-T was like, yeah man, I got a surprise for you. I'm gonna because I love Gears of War so much, I'm going to reunite my band Body Count, and we're going to do a song for Gears of War. And like, no one clapped. It was pretty hilarious. They're like, we don't care. But anyway, that happened. Gears 3 actually looks really good. They did come out and say, confirm the release of the Halo 1 Anniversary Edition, which is basically a big graphic overhaul and remastery of the very first Halo that they're going to release on November the 15th, which I'm sure will be a full $60 release, so everybody can run out and buy the same game that they already have, just that it looks better for $60, and Bungie will get more money. And so they announced that. Then they had this thing that they introduced called Connect Fun Labs, which is basically, you know, something that you get free if you're an Xbox Live member. And basically it's little fun things you can do with the Kinect. And they showed, like, one guy was up there and it was like an art thing. He took 2 pictures of himself and then with his finger he drew like some lightning or something. It was pretty stupid. And it was like, oh, that's awesome. And then one of the thing that was actually cool was that there was this one lady who scanned herself, scanned her face and her clothing into the Kinect, and it generated an avatar that looked exactly like her. It was crazy. So you don't have to flip through the avatar and pick. You can just scan yourself in, and the Kinect will just make an avatar. It was pretty sweet. Something else that was actually pretty cool was you can scan objects. They had like a stuffed animal, and you scan the front and back of it, and it makes a virtual model of that object. And it was pretty, and you can play as them. I don't know the point in doing that with the object. I don't know if you just stand there and dance around with it or whatever. But, you know, those things were revealed. They revealed Crytek's latest game, which is called Rise, which of course, because Crytek is obviously the coolest game developers on the planet, is spelled with an R, so instead of spelled correctly, R-I-S-E, it's spelled R-Y-S-E, because Crytek is really just that cool. It's a Kinect-only game, and it is basically like an ancient Roman game where you are, you know, just hack and slash, basically. So that's what that was. Then they announced that Minecraft is going to be an Xbox 360 exclusive with Kinect, which I guess for Minecraft fans was a big deal. But I assume all of the Minecraft fans who own a PS3 were really pissed off by that. I don't care because I don't play Minecraft. They announced a new Fable game with the Kinect. And again, the gameplay with the Kinect was actually pretty cool. You could do a lot of different stuff. You could shoot magic. You could do different hand motions and things to do different magical attacks. It was pretty cool. But from what I'm hearing, because I never played Fable, but you know, I just got an Xbox like a month ago, so I never played any Fables. But what I'm to understand from some people is that Fable has kind of remained the same game the whole way through, and so people aren't really excited about this because people think there's just going to be more of the same. You know, I can't speak to that because I've never played Fable, but anyway, Fable: The Journey is coming out as a Kinect exclusive. And this was pretty funny. Honestly, I don't think Microsoft had hardly anything at all to really say that was decent during this press conference, so probably half or even more than half of it was just filler nonsense. And these next 2 things were absolutely, actually the next 4 things, pretty much the rest of the press conference other than one thing was all filler, because they obviously, Microsoft just didn't have a whole bunch of new stuff to announce, so they just put these stupid things in here to make their press conference an hour and a half. So let's start with the Double Fine Studios, which I believe are the ones who made Stacking, I think. I could be wrong, but they have a Sesame Street game called Once Upon a Monster. And yes, they actually demoed this during the press conference. They had a guy and I guess his son. He called them Dad, but you know, that doesn't mean anything. and they were showing on Kinect playing Sesame Street. Why was this game demoed on stage at E3? I can't answer that question. But yeah, that was demoed, and I guess if you have a kid, then you're excited about that, but that was pretty much a room full of adults who were like, what the hell is this? We don't want to see Sesame Street. Then, this was also pretty funny, Disneyland Adventures. This was also demoed on stage as a Kinect game, and it had 2 little kids on stage with like absolutely the corniest, you know, lines and stuff I've ever heard in my entire life. We're standing up there, and it's a bunch of like mini games and things that are Disneyland. Like they were doing the Peter Pan thing, and they were up there flailing their arms around like this, and it was so corny. They were like, "Oh, get the coins! Oh, that's a shame. We'll get them next time. Oh no, there's a can't." Like it was so corny. And yes, that was demoed 2 times. They had one set of kids doing one thing, and then another set of kids doing another thing, and it was awful. I don't know why this stuff was demoed. Then, in addition to all that, they demoed Kinect Sports Season 2. They had some chick come out there and do Kinect Sports Seasons 2. Like, anyone cares. Like, anyone wants that demoed on stage. She came out there and was like, it's the exact same thing as Kinect Sports 1, except we've added, like, 2 sports. Yay! And then they had a couple of guys come out and demo, like, the football, which was actually kind of funny because they were just funny guys and they were just being stupid. I think they realized that it was stupid that they were demoing it, so it was kind of funny. And if that wasn't enough, then they demoed Dance Central 2 with the Kinect, and it was hilarious because they had a dancer and a choreographer come out and do this. And of course they were amazing. They were standing up there dancing all over the place, and I'm thinking to myself, are they expecting us to be able to do that? Are they expecting normal people to be able to stand there and dance like these 2 people? Because we can't. It's a choreographer and a dancer. You know? So all of this stuff was demoed on stage, taking up time at the press conference. I did forget one thing because it's not listed on here. They do have a Kinect Star Wars game, which did look pretty cool. The problem that I noticed with this game, and I kind of noticed it with some other games, but it was really noticeable with this game. Keep in mind, I watched this on YouTube because I was out of town last week, so I didn't watch it live. I watched it on YouTube. But there seemed to be, and maybe it was because I was watching it online, or maybe because at the stadium they were, you know, broadcasting, they had the TV hooked up to the big screen, but there seemed to be a ridiculous delay between when the person would make a motion and when the person on the screen would actually do it, when the screen character. So like, they were demoing Star Wars, and the guy would jump, and when he lands, his Jedi on the screen would then jump. Like, it was an awful delay, and I don't know if it's actually like that when you play, or if that's just because, you know, it was hooked up through another monitor or something and there was a delay in signaling. I don't know. But if there is that kind of a lag in something, how awful is that? Again, I don't know if there was. It's just from what I saw, especially on that Star Wars game, there was like a ridiculous lag. But, you know, the Star Wars game looked pretty cool. Here, my question about all these Kinect games, like Fable, Star Wars, how do you move around? Because all the people who demoed this didn't move. It was like a rail game, like a rail shooter. Like, it just moved you where you needed to go, and then you do the actions on the screen. Because all these people did during the demo was just stand there, and the game would take them wherever they needed to go, like a rail shooter or something would. And then you perform. So do you actually move your character around? And if you do, how? Because in all of these demos, you didn't move your character. It just moved itself. And, I mean, you know, that's great, but I don't know how many people want to stand there and play like a rail-style game with Kinect. I don't know. I don't know if, you know, if that was just because of, you know, because it was just a demo or whatever, but I'm interested, and with those EA Sports, because I know that you can't have like a Rails type thing with EA Sports. How do you move your character with Kinect? Like, how do you choose a direction or anything? I don't know how that's going to work. And then, of course, as they were walking off the stage, they showed a promo trailer for Halo 4, which is kicking off a new trilogy. From what I want to understand, because again, I've never played any Halos, but from what I'm to understand, Bungie is no longer behind it. So my question is, who the hell cares anymore? And unfortunately, I know, and mark my words on this, because I can pretty much put money on this. This is releasing, I assume, next year. When it does, it will be on the top 10 list of almost every major gaming media's list of top 10 games of the year. Doesn't matter if it's the worst game ever made, doesn't matter if it's the best game ever made, it will be on every major gaming media's top 10 list because it's Halo. And it could be the worst thing ever, and that's why Halo 3 ODST, even though I didn't play it, I know basically all about ODST and what it was, what it started off as, and what it ended as. That's why Halo 3 ODST was like in people's top 3 games of the year, because it was Halo, even though it was nothing more than a massive scam by Bungie. But it didn't matter because it was Halo. So I guess if you're a Halo fan, that's great. But from what I'm to understand, Bungie, who did all the original Halos, isn't even behind it anymore, and it's just a way for them to milk more and more money out of the consumer because it's Halo, and people are going to run out and buy it. And again, it doesn't matter how good or bad it is; it will be on the top 10 list of pretty much every gaming media's list because it's Halo. So that pretty much wrapped up Microsoft press conference. I have to be honest with you, out of all three, I think Microsoft's was the worst. I think they did an awful job as far as what they were actually demoing. They didn't showcase their software very well. The entire thing was basically just more Kinect. The entire press conference, except for Gears 3, was all involving Kinect. And people just didn't care. That's why no one liked the press conferences last year, because it was all about Kinect. And now, it's still about Kinect instead of about their games. It wasn't about Mass Effect 3 the game. It was about how to use Kinect with Mass Effect 3. And then they just didn't have that much stuff, so their entire press conference was just stupid filler garbage like Sesame Street, like Disneyland Adventures, like Dance Central 2, Kinect Sports Season 2, a 15 freaking minute demo of how you can sit on your couch and be the laziest person in all the world, commanding your Xbox to do things because apparently this wireless controller just isn't, it's just too hard to use, and what other stuff, The EA Sports thing, he comes out and says, oh yeah, these games are going to use Kinect, bye, and walks off the stage. No explanation as to how, no kind of gameplay or anything. He's just like, imagine using Kinect with EA Sports, bye, and walks off. And you're like, I can't imagine it because you won't tell me how it's supposed to work. So, and starting the press conference with Modern Warfare 3 and Tomb Raider, instead of starting the press conference with Halo or something that Microsoft fans can relate to, or Gears 3, their press conference just wasn't very impressive to me. I was disappointed, and I was excited for it because this is the first year that I have an Xbox now, and I was excited to see what stuff was going to come out, and it was just basically a big letdown. It was all about more little things with Kinect instead of the actual software. So that wraps up Microsoft's press conference. When we come back, we'll delve into Sony's press conference, which was the next press conference to be held. So when we come back, we'll talk Sony.